This is the easiest repotting method ever. No messing around with roots, no messing around backfilling plants, just pure repotting joy. It saved me a ton of time and a lot of aggro, and it will do you too. Here's what you do. I've got this rather handsome Anthurium here that is very much root bound, the poor thing. Look, there's hardly any soil left in the pot, so he desperately needs to be upsized. He's got this yellow leaf too, which suggests he's probably getting starved of nutrients from the lack of soil. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab a pot there's a couple of sizes up from the one he currently lives in. Now, I know there is tons of advice out there warning you to only go one size bigger when repotting, but this is a little overblown in my opinion. It's a pain in the bum repotting, even with this easy repotting method, and really you want to save yourself the bother of having to do it all over again in a few months, so I go at least a couple of sizes bigger and sometimes more. Just don't let the plant sit in water all the time and you're good to go. So I've selected his new home, a nice pot with lots of room for him to stretch his legs. It's not a massive pot like this would be too big and he'd soon drown. And it's also got drainage holes, which is a godsend for plant parents. Here's the fun part. I'm going to take this guy out of his existing pot, set him aside and grab my soil. I'm using an aroid mix from Botanica, which is a super chunky mix containing coconut core with bits of perlite and bark and even some worm castings for extra nutrition. Lucky plant. The soil mix you use is super important. I'm using a light mix like this so that excess water freely drains away and roots aren't sat in wet soil. Use a heavy soil that doesn't drain well and your little guy risks getting root rot. Not happy. I've got a 10% discount for Botanica listed down below, by the way. I'm now adding a base layer of soil to the larger pot and setting the old pot inside. I've actually switched pots here so they are both a size or two bigger because the plant had seriously outgrown the little pot so much, and you'll see why I did this in a jiffy. I want the old pot to be nearly level with the new one, maybe an inch or so lower, so I'm adjusting the base layer until it's more or less in the right place. You don't want it higher, and you'll see why in a bit. I now put the old pot back in and add some soil to the whole thing. I fill it right to the top and then lightly compress the soil down so everything is fairly compacted down. When I add water at the end, I know everything will compress down anyway, so it's a good idea to pack things down a little so I know things are at the right level. But don't go mad and press too hard though. Roots need air to breathe after all. You want to make sure there's about an inch gap from the top of the soil to the top of the pot. If it's level, then it makes the next bit a little bit tricky. Now, this is where the magic happens. I pop the old pot out and voila, I've just created the perfect impression for the plant to go into. It's the perfect size and shape and there's barely any backfill required. How easy is that? Just press the root ball into the new soil so there's good contact with the soil and filling any gaps, and that's it. If the plant is protruding out a little, then just simply add some more soil around until everything is nice and flush. Give it a good thorough drink so the whole thing is nice and wet, let the excess drain through and pop the plant back in its home. Don't make the mistake of giving it just a little trickle of water thinking you don't want to give it too much. And this video here explains why this is a deadly mistake, as well as 7 other watering mistakes you might be making, so go on, check it out and make sure you subscribe for more fun.